Hi, my name is Michael Murray. I'm running for Somerville City Council, Ward 7. And I really love Somerville. And one of the things we do with things and places that we love is we try to make them even better. We try to make them work for everybody involved. So with that in mind, I'd like to talk about 4 things with my time today. 1 is the pit in Teal Square. 2 are the rats of Ward 7. 3 are unarmed crisis response teams. And 4 is the abduction of Rumeysa Öztürk from Ward 7. So the pit is the issue that really brought me into the race. Over 13 years, the pit has sat there and I've passed by it thousands of times. And sometimes I would get frustrated with it and email my city council person, Ward 7 city council person, and ask them what was going on with this. And I would get a response, usually offered some encouragement that something would happen, and I appreciate those responses. But where the rubber meets the road, nothing has ever happened with the pit in Teal Square over 13 years. Now, it's been owned for 10 years by Binoj Pradhan, who owns a few businesses around the city and locations, including most recently the Cookies dispensary in Union Square. So over the last few years, he's been distracted and working on obtaining the license for the marijuana dispensary and the permitting and working on that site. Now, if I was on city council and Binoj came with a proposal for something else in the city and I'm representing Ward 7, I would say, hold on a minute. We're not moving on anything else until you take care of this pit that you bought in Teal Square and do something with it and not leave it just an open pit for years upon years upon years. So moving on to the rats. The rats have recently proliferated in Ward 7 enormously. And it's for a pretty simple reason. The barrels that we've had, they've been good. They were a good investment. They kept the rats out for the most part for a long time. But something has changed. And now the rats are regularly chewing through the barrels. And now they have an enormous food source. And the number of rats is not going to decrease. The population is not going to decrease with this kind of food supply. So we're going to need to upgrade the barrels to a material that the rats cannot chew through. As far as as talking about unarmed response teams, I feel like this is an opportunity with a larger issue to both do some following and some leading. Cambridge has been experimenting with unarmed response teams and unarmed co-response teams. And the process has been administratively messy, but the outcomes have been really positive as far as decreasing arrests and safer encounters. Because there's some encounters, there's some sort of crises that occur that people showing up with a gun only makes it less safe. And lastly, I want to talk about the abduction of Rumeysa Öztürk from Somerville, and not just from Somerville, but from Ward 7. Rumeysa Öztürk was abducted by masked federal goons back in March, and this was a manifestly unconstitutional action, clearly illegal, and it connects our little Ward 7 neighborhood to issues both national and international. It really calls upon us to stand up and say something. Because if we're not going to stand up and say something when this kind of gross violation happens in our neighborhood, when will we possibly do it? So that's why I support Free Speech for People's petition, which I've signed, and I'd encourage you to as well, to encourage Attorney General Andrea Campbell to launch an investigation into the abduction of Rumeysa Öztürk so people involved can be held accountable and so we have a historical account of this gross violation. So I hope you'll vote for me on September 16th and November 4th so that we can build the pit and we can improve our neighborhood, and I appreciate your support. Thanks.